Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside Marine. Today, I'm really excited to be chatting to our guest, and he is a innovator, an entrepreneur, a multiple offshore race winning champion, and a very passionate environmentalist. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Jeroen Wats to the show. Hi there, Jeroen.
Thank you. Hi, James. Thank you for the opportunity you give me here. Isn't it really nice?
Yeah, great. No problem at all. Well, I think the opportunity is mine today. You have a fascinating background and have clearly achieved a huge amount in your life so far. And I know that you're not slowing down anytime soon with huge plans ahead. So we usually start off our discussion going right back to the beginning. And I would really like to hear how you got into the industry and what really drew you into it initially and really kind of the journey up to now.
Well, it's kind of funny because when I was 15 years old, we had the school teacher. He asked us, "What do you want to become when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to build boats." It's basically what I said. I want to build boats. And later on in school, and one guy in our class, he wanted to be a climber, and the other one wanted to be a police officer. But he said, "I'm too lazy for that." Well, and we had a school reunion, and it was, let's say, 10 years ago or something. Said, "Well, what do you do?" So I'm building boats. And I said, "Well, what do you do?" He said, "No, well, I'm a climber." So actually he was. And the other one is a police officer in the Caribbean. So there's three guys who actually did what they always wanted to do. And for me to just step into the industry was more, I was working at corporate organizations, which I really didn't like. There's a big lack of passion. It's all very much of profit driven. So you work really hard. And at the end of the year, they said, "Well done, Jeroen." And then next year, up plus 10%. And so I'm already working really hard. So I thought, well, this is not going to work. So I did a transatlantic race from Cape Town to Rio de Janeiro in 2003. It was my first transatlantic. Sailed it with a team of 8 and won the race, which was kind of lucky more than that we were actually so extremely good. Sometimes you need some luck in order to get somewhere.
Absolutely.
Covered the ocean in 20 days, covering 4,000 nautical miles. Been sailing really all my life since I was really young. So it was always something I was from dinghies to keel boats and then offshore and so on. And so transatlantic never did it. So I wanted to do it and did it. Gave up my job and started to build boats, because what I did is basically when people start to challenge me, like, "Do you want to do this again?" I said, "Well, I would, but 20 days is pretty boring and it's pretty long. So if I want to do it, I want to do it in 16 days. And people say you can't. And I always live by a certain rule. The ones who say you can't are the reasons why you should." So I gave my job, and that was my first step into the industry. So I started to work on the development of a boat to do this race again and cover it in 16 days, which I did.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah. So that was kind of, the first one was lucky. The second time we did it on a 37-foot boat with a tiller. Because, I didn't have more money to build a boat like that. I thought I would make it really big, but every week it became a meter shorter because my pockets are not deep enough. But we covered the race in 16 days.
Fantastic.
So we were first over the line and handicap honors as well.
Amazing. And what can you remember the sort of doing those sort of races and challenges on a budget is always difficult, especially if you want to try and break records. You've got to be really clever with the end. And just talk me through, what was any of the key things that you were able to do to the boat or the design that well,
basically what you have is almost like driving a car, when you have a certain feeling when you think, okay, well, when the tires are a little bit wet or the suspension or something, or you got the same with the boat. So especially when you cover 4,000 nautical miles, you feel in your fingertips that if the rudder would be a little bit deeper, if it would keel a little bit more deeper, if the boat would be lighter, if it had a little bit more volume in the stern, if you fly bigger kites, if we have a longer bowsprit, all these kind of things are things you not automatically, not deliberately, let's say this, but when you sail it, well, if you sail it if you rock it off a wave, if you surf off a wave, It's nice when the boat can accelerate a little bit quicker, or these kind of things. You always process all these information in your head. So automatically you gain a lot of data covering 4,000 miles on how you can improve speed. It's basically very simple.
And of course, you've kept that kind of boat building and design theme going, sort of continuing through your career. So, I mean, obviously, after your success in the race, what came next?
Start to build boats, because my basic idea was to build one and then sell it and then do something else. Well, it was basically sort of, addictive is maybe a good word for it, to create something. And actually when it starts to work, so you start with an idea, you have things in your head, you work it out, you work with an architect, it becomes a render, and like, oh, wow. And the render turns into a mold, and the mold turns into a boat, and everything. So that process is really beautiful. To create something is fantastic, especially when it works. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And moving more into the current day. Obviously, you're still now the founder of another boat building company. You've had a number of design offices and boat building firms before, and I understand the process is addictive, and my background is a boat builder, so I can totally relate to that. But you're also obviously have a passion for business as well, and leading your own businesses, and so what's the motivation there?
I think the motivation is not automatically that I started a business or something new because the profit was automatically my goal, because I think you can make a lot of money out of it. It's something which I sincerely want or concerned about. Like, for example, now the sustainable mission has been years of investing time and money and efforts to make something before you actually can go to market. It's something which is part maybe of entrepreneurship. That's a thing for sure, but it's something which is driven by sincere passion and not by something else.
Yeah. And just going back over the last, I guess, few years, I mean, has there been any particular, big influence on your career, up to date and over the past, that's really kind of helped sort of spur you on into the projects that you've been doing?
Oh, yeah. Well, basically, because I got a long history in building the boats and building up a brand, and still up to date. I'm still in contact with all the owners of these yachts I built. And so not all of them, because there was something like 600 boats built over this period of time. But many of them, they still send me a message or ask me for some advice or share that they want to race up till today. That's fantastic. So, but when it comes to the future, the network you have in the industry is pretty big, mainly in sailing. So powerboats it's like skiing and snowboarding. These are two complete different things. And in the powerboat industry, it's kind of different because people actually don't know me. So now I was, for example, as an example, with Mike Golding. Every sailor knows Mike Golding. So I was walking with Mike Golding over the Southampton Boat Show, and everybody's, hi, Jeroen, hi, Mike, hi, Jeroen, hi, Mike, hi, Jeroen, hi, Mike. And we came with powerboats, and who's Mike? Who's Jeroen? Nobody knows. It's really funny.
Really?
Yeah.
No, but very different industries. Yeah.
It is, yes. But when you're in the industry, you have a lot of connections, suppliers, relations to build something up. It's a fair, well, as you know, it's a big industry, but it's on the other end very small.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And sort of throughout the journey of the various businesses and the various boats, what are you seeing kind of over previous years, the kind of the big changes are in the industry?
Yeah, the last couple of years, there is, basically since the start, let's say since 40 years, there's not so much of innovation. I think with the Ultimate Boat Company, we have Exo Technologies, and the Ultimate Boat Company is a sister company of Exo Technologies. I think, and it's not preaching out of our own church, not at all. But we've achieved hull designs which are at the cutting edge of powerboating, which is not automatically my expertise. Yet it has better fuel consumptions. It has hydraulic lifts, so the boat lifts itself up in a horizontal way. You can do 45 knots and do a hard turn and the boat won't wipe out. It's a John Moxham hull design, which is an architect from, I think he's now 86 years old or something. So he came on his motorcycle to the Southampton boat show. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I think what we are as a company extremely innovative in composite materials, designs, solutions all over, up till military purposes, up till offshore purposes, safaris, these kind of things. And that you don't see so much. For example, if you see the basic rib, if you see a rib hull, they're since 30 years the same, 40 years the same. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting because, you know, from one angle, you certainly see incredible innovation, don't you? But in a very, very small space, if you're looking at, I don't know, the America's Cup type
in
innovation,
sailing, yes,
in sailing, you know, but interesting to hear that maybe not so much at a more general level across the industry. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, well, you see, indeed, you know, you see in the sailing industry, you see much more foiling, and you see now sometimes some power boats, they come up and they foil a little bit and so on. That innovation is impressive, of course. If you see an America's Cup boat, it's absolutely insane. Even for me as a high performance yachty, it's for me difficult to see if they go up or downwind because they're always going upwind. These things they are so fast. You cannot see if they tack or jibe. It's very difficult to spot. Yeah. But these innovations are really helping towards the future of boating. You know, that's the same as Formula One. They came up with their 16 valves and their turbo engines and special suspensions and so on. It came later in Honda Civics and so on and so on. So it is a very good that these races and platforms are there to innovate. Yet, if you see the basic sailing yacht, it's still made of fiberglass. It's still made of carbon fiber. It's still made in a very old-fashioned way. Even if you infuse or whatever, it's still old school. For example, a powerboat to make is maybe 2,000 labor hours. Porsche 911 Turbo, 49 hours. Wow. And a Volkswagen Polo, 18 hours. So it is still an industry which is, well, I always joke about it that it's a little bit Flintstone. That's not really how it is because there is a lot of innovations going on. But I think, and towards sustainability, that's where this industry really needs to be shaken up.
Yeah. And why do you think this is? What's holding people back from, I guess, being brave with innovation and moving things forward, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think basically for the yachting industry, it's a very conservative industry. So as long as things go well, they're fine. I mean, they might innovate, but the innovations are more into looks of the boat. So as well in power and sailing. And at a certain point, there's some boats with reverse bows, and then everybody wants to have a reverse bow and all these kind of things. But it's not, I don't see innovation there. Yet, when it comes to sustainability or alternative propulsion ideas, then the industry is a little bit backing off. If, as an example, Volkswagen tunes their software for their diesel a little bit, $4.6 billion of fine. Right. This yachting industry, you just make epoxies, people don't wear masks, it's dusty, it's dirty, it's nasty, there's no end-of-life solution. You blast with a diesel 42-foot boat Beneteau from, let's say, from Marseille to Toulon, to Corsica, you burn 2,400 liter diesel pumping out stuff in the air. Nobody cares about it. Nobody ticks somebody on the fingers like you have to behave or you have to do something better. There's no government interfering. Nothing happens. So why change when you're really not being heavily taxed, heavily punished? Things are forbidden. So this industry still could move itself in a way where it's still fine.
So what you're saying is that actually, until it's maybe better regulated or made to make this change, actually, it potentially won't be proactive and make the change.
No, I think, for example, France is now coming up for GRP boats with a tax of 5%, which makes sense because these boats, they end in landfill at the end of life. There's no end of life solution, so they will be dumped. So when people feel it in their purse, then it's time to change.
Yeah,
that's the thing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, you're two really exciting businesses right now. You just touched on them there, and I'd love to talk about them a bit more. It is the Ultimate Boat Company, and but also Exo Technologies, and you know they clearly work very closely together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd love just to hear more about what's happening in those businesses right now.
Well, they're both startups. Exo Technologies is, let's say, is the mother company of the Ultimate Boat Company. In ExoTech, we do all the research and developments, like all the sustainable things, the composites, and so on. And with the Ultimate Boat Company, we actually build boats out of it with new materials, new hull designs, which are heavily tested for years. So actually what I think it's the coolest thing about the Ultimate Boat Company, because I'm involved in this since a year, and the company exists now 2.5 years, 3 years, is what really attracted me when I met one of the founders, and he lives here on the island as well. So that's kind of a coincidence. We met each other, had a coffee, and I said, what you do is really brilliant. And he says, what you are doing is really brilliant. I was more into sustainable composites and these innovations. So after the second coffee, we said, okay, we have to do something together. For the simple reason, you see many boat builders, they launch a boat which is, let's say, for 70 or 80% fine, and they're fine, and they launch it. At the Ultimate Boat Company, no. So the boat is tested, it's not good enough, do it again, and again, and again, and again, and then say, well, we have a sustainable composite. Okay, all the GRP out, and now we do something else. So it's a very courageous operation, I have to say. It's impressive. The passion for perfectionism in this company is insane, and that it works because we saw it on the Southampton Boat Show where, and I know powerboats as well. I'm not, let's say, I'm much more into sailing, but when I was on the boat and one of our guys, Colin, drove the boat and do 45 knots boat speed and turn the wheel really heavily. So your cheek is almost against the window, and the car of the boat's like on rails. It won't wipe out. So these kind of innovations, there was no cavitation on the props. So the boat always has grip. It's super safe. It's super stable.
Yeah.
So for offshore conditions, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's clear, and these are still based on the because what you said a little bit earlier about the designs are based on something from 80 years ago. Did I understand that correct? No. The design is pretty new, but the guy who invented it, he did as well the Valkyrie bombers and everything, so aerospace. But he's 86 years old, so no. Yeah, I understand. I understand.
The design is not 80 years. No.
Yeah, I thought, wow, he's really ahead of his time. But how important is it to create these products that you are creating, having that insight from the aeronautical industry, the automotive industry? It sounds like there's some cross industry sort of collaboration going on there with the designs.
Yeah, well, basically, if you see what the hull does, is there's a sort of hydraulic lift. So that allows the boat as well to be for the future for alternative propulsion systems. So let's say heavy lithium batteries or something, which is not sustainable, but still, let's say you can put, let's say, a lot of load in it without affecting the boat's performance. When it comes to the automotive industry, well, I always look at the automotive industry as a bench where it's a very clear, on terms of, well, I'm not a marketeer, but when it comes to marketing, innovation, efficiency, quality control, all these kind of things, the automotive industry is really ahead of its game. So it's really good to not to copy it, but just to look in it and observe it and study it as a bench. You cannot make, let's say, a boat in 48 hours like a Porsche 911 turbo or something. It's impossible because you don't make so much of both. The volumes are different. Yet it is interesting to follow the trends and innovations, what's happening there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have, due to COVID, we clearly have a real new interest in the industry, in boating and leisure activity in general. And, it's no secret that boat builders around the world are extremely busy. And you obviously have a very, very unique and specific product. And, what are you seeing in terms of customers' interest in your boats? Are you seeing a new type of customer coming into the industry?
No, yeah, well, after the Southampton Boat Show is where we actually was our first real boat show where we did trials with the boat. And we never did it before because as well with the composite, we never really went to the market before we know it's 100% right.
Yeah.
So we are just a newcomer on the market right now, but the responses and the inquiries and the dialogues for orders are really, really, really going up. It's really interesting.
Yeah, great news. Great news. And the Exo Technologies, I really want to talk about this in a bit more detail because, you know, from my understanding, what you guys are doing there is not just innovative, but really there to make a difference in manufacturing and in the materials that are used. It's very driven with a purpose of that, as well as just pure technology. Tell me a bit more about Exo Technologies and what you guys are doing at the moment.
Well, basically, I'm the one who invented the Danube composite, which is a composite which is much stronger than GRP, which has more impact resistance and flexibility than carbon fiber. But let's say tensile strength properties are about the same as carbon fiber, so it's actually really strong. We innovated that for years to make it really perfect. But then we start to look at other applications. So Danube composite, we split the patent, what we have a patent on it. We split it up in Exo Wind and Exo Marine and Exo Protect at this moment, because the layup, well, you're a boat builder, the layup and to lay up a boat has other, the recipe, the pepper and salt is exactly the same, but sometimes you do a little bit more pepper, a little bit more salt for other applications. Yeah. So for boats, we have Exo Marine, which is the sustainable and full circular composite proposition. And for wind energy, for wind turbine blades, for example, we have Exo Wind. And then we start to look at it like, okay, well, it feels so tough, maybe it can stop bullets, which it does. So it has ballistic properties up to level 3, which stops bullets from a M16 on 50 foot with a plate of just 12 mil thick. Mm-hmm. So we go pretty far in a proposition in complete other segments of industries.
Yeah. And I mean, this technology to me, it sounds just like a huge game changer for where we should be going in terms of manufacturing boats, manufacturing composite products, and you know the sustainable and the circular nature of it. I mean, describe a bit more about that. I mean, this stuff can be broken down. It can be basically you have in recycling or reusing, there's several steps. You can, let's say, you can recycle, but you can as well downcycle and you can upcycle. Mm-hmm. And downcycling is what you do. For example, carbon fiber can be, until a certain extent, can be recycled, yet it's downcycled because in the process it loses about 20-30% of its mechanical properties. So as an example, you have a mast of a boat, and the mast breaks and you will recycle it. You cannot make a new mast out of it because the material loses its strength. So you make maybe a table out of it, and inevitably it ends in landfill. In a circular economy, you can repeatedly recycle and upcycle. So that means you make a boat. From the boat at the end of life, you take the materials apart and you make a wind turbine blade out of it, which is superior to where it initially was designed for. And the composite, what we have, doesn't lose any of its mechanical properties in any process. So the material stays in the economy and not in landfill. And the landfill figures are staggering. Just a question to you. How much kilograms of GRP ends in landfill every year in Europe? Just Europe. Now guess. I'm going to ask you a question right now. Okay. Oh, goodness me. Kilograms
or tons.
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands, millions, I'm sure. Yeah.
250 million kilo per year in Europe.
Yeah. Wow.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
You cannot reuse it. You cannot whatever. You can just throw it away.
And that's there. And then that is just going to be there for, hundreds
forever.
And hundreds of years.
Yeah. Nobody actually knows. Yeah.
Okay.
So what we have is something which basically it's a sustainable material. So it's not toxic or whatever, just pure from Mother Nature, and can be repeatedly recycled forever. Styrene free, no toxics, no
incredible.
Nothing. Yeah,
incredible.
And extremely strong.
Yeah, and are you know, how much interest do you have from boat builders at the moment, kind of looking at switching over to this product is one question, but also is it used? Do you laminate with it in the same way? Do you need composite technicians to be retrained or?
No, everybody can start tomorrow. Everybody who infuse can start with this tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's actually that simple. Yeah.
Yeah. And interest from the industry?
Yes, it starts because we actually now go to the market and knock doors and even try to, basically what we do is first at the Ultimate Boat Company, we at this stage, as we talk right now, we are building a boat for a 10.5 meter rib for military purpose, for law enforcement. So there's as well some ballistic properties and these kind of things. Completely recyclable. It's the first one in the world. And strong. You cannot believe how strong it is. It's insane strong.
Yeah. I think it sounds an incredible offering to the market. And, you know, I really, really hope that the industry, you know, really tunes into this and starts to move over. I mean, just coming on to that kind of, you know, what do you, we spoke a bit about why the industry isn't necessarily innovating in general. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing enough of the industry tuning into its responsibility on when it comes to sustainability, for example?
Some, yes. There's some really good initiatives around, which I really support, but still there's a lot of greenwashing around. So that means, well, I cannot mention the name because that might be a little bit stupid to do, but I see often a boat builder in, let's say Scandinavia, who sells a sustainable story. And I replied at a certain point on their LinkedIn, well, how sustainable are you? Because you have an electric motor, it's fine. That's zero emission. That's not sustainable. It's not. So it's not a sustainable story when you make boats out of vinyl ester and polyester and epoxies and glass fibers. That's not automatically sustainable. So the word sustainability is often used. The good thing about it, people want it. It's a sort of fashion right now because you see with the Teslas and stuff, and you got Volkswagen even with a vegan interior where they vegan edition and stuff. So these movements are really interesting. Yet if it comes to real breakthrough, not impressed yet, to be honest. There are some boats around and some initiatives around with completely made from sustainable fibers and everything, which is absolutely stunning. And well, we don't have the answer, and nobody really has the answer when it comes to a certain application of yachts. So when I talk, let's say with the Volvo Ocean Race or with the IMOCA class organization, and say, well, what is your goal? Is your goal breaking records? Do you want to be quicker than 17.5 days around the world single-handed on a foiling IMOCA? Or do you want to go sustainable? Because we can make a boat out of Danube composite in an IMOCA, we can make it in Danube, no problem. The boat will be considerably heavier than when you compare it with pre-preg carbon fibers. It's unbeatable. That's just the ratio of stiffness and weight. Forget it. We don't have an answer for that. So when it comes to record breaking, nobody really has an answer. But if they want to go fast around the world, this boat will go fast around the world, but won't break a record. Yeah,
I understand. Yeah.
So there's in a certain way of in the trade, every Jeannot, Beneteau, Bavaria, name it, all these big brands that can start tomorrow with this. Tomorrow, fine.
Yeah. Greenwashing is actually quite a buzz phrase at the moment, you know. And do you think it really comes down to people trying to take a marketing opportunity, or actually how much is it down to just pure educating and education?
But that's a good thing that you say. I really like your question here because it is about education. Like you and me, we are in this industry. We know exactly what's going on when it comes to materials and fibers and resins and stuff what used in boats. We know that. But when I talk to, for example, my neighbor, who just looks at a boat from a design point of view and likes it or something, he has no idea how it's made, how pollutive it is, and so on. So, and it's maybe last year I wrote a certain thing on my LinkedIn and I tried to knock some doors, but the biggest problem is that what I wanted to initiate is a green label for boats. Like, for example, if you have, if I go to the supermarket, you have biological steaks or chicken fillet or something, or milk, bio products and stuff. So fine. For boats, needs to be the same. Yeah. So which is actually sustainable, which is actually made from natural fibers, name it. There's many initiatives around. So it's not rocket science, literally not. So I think to educate clients, you need, I think the industry like the Mets or British Marine should get a grant based on the study, how much you use on electricity, all these kind of things, where you get your electricity from, what kind of materials you use, and so on and so on and so on, all documented, and get an official certification. Not only the Ultimate Boat Company, it's not, I'm not selling the Ultimate Boat Company at all here, but there are other companies around who actually deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I totally agree with that. You know, they're people who are clearly driving their business strategy around their passion for sustainability, and I actually have this conversation quite a lot with people in the super yacht industry on a similar topic around a sort of a certification, but actually for the yacht itself. Yeah. In the same way that you get the green certification for your electrical product, right? The same thing. And it seems to me that, you know, if you go right back to what we were saying at the beginning about regulating and educating, there's probably a lot more that not just the businesses, but, you know, trade associations can be doing to really drive this. The challenge is making the switch over to get everybody on the mission.
Because I was in contact with British Marine, and they're very sustainability driven in a way. So for them, I cannot do it, because otherwise they say, you just sell I'm not into sales at all, because I'm in innovation and technique. So I'm not commercial at all. But still, you cannot have two hats on. When you're involved in a company developing composites and making boats, you cannot say, the green label is, I cannot be the one who I can give this thing a push into a certain direction, but I don't want to be the guy who did it. Not because because it's a bad thing. No, it's a very good thing, but you need to be neutral in this industry. But if British Marine wants to pick that up, I would absolutely applaud that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and globally, it needs many British Marines, but it's. I feel there's more and more people would agree with you, and that share the same concerns and the issues, and it's brilliant to hear a bit about what you're doing, where you're actually providing the solutions, you know, and I'm really, really excited for you and your and the composite and the product and everything that Exo Technologies is doing.
Thank you.
So you've been in the industry for a while, Jeroen. You've sailed all your life. You have a huge network in there, and one of the ways that we like to finish this podcast is to ask one very simple question. If you were giving some advice to somebody considering coming into our industry, or who had just joined the industry, what would you be telling them?
Stay out. No, just kidding. No. No, I would say keep on innovating, because it's an industry which there's a lot of platforms and possibilities right now to grow. Which is because when I start, for example, with my yacht design company, which I sold then in, let's say, as an equity into the Exo Technologies and stuff, but that's another story. I call that TYNC, the TYNC, the Young Naval Creators. I just wanted to give younger architects, younger people a platform to develop and to create. And especially these younger generations, they have ideas. I'm now close to 51. So I think I'm still young. I'm not. So newcomers in the industry, just keep on smart, keep on, don't follow the herd, don't follow the old people sitting in their chairs, but try to break things through, try to develop something new, try to innovate. There's a lot of opportunities there. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah, thank you. Really great advice. Well, look, Jeroen, it's been fantastic just kind of hearing a bit about the journey and what the businesses are up to at the moment and what's coming next. And, you know, the composite product is hugely exciting and something that I will be absolutely championing to the industry. I wish you all the luck with it, and maybe you can come back and tell us how it's all going soon.
I will, definitely. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeroen.